President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened at the White House on April 7, 2025. The meeting, initially planned as a formal affair, morphed into an impromptu press conference. The shift in format underscored the urgency and importance of the issues at hand. Tariffs, the volatile situation in Gaza, and the looming threat of Iran dominated the discussion. Netanyahu, a seasoned politician, found himself navigating the unpredictable currents of Trump's second term. The meeting offered a glimpse into the complex dynamics shaping U.S. Israel relations and global affairs. The shadow of global trade tensions loomed large over the meeting. Trump's recent tariff announcements had sent shockwaves through international markets. The specter of a trade war with the U.S. at its epicenter rattled allies and adversaries alike. The Gaza Strip, a perennial flashpoint, presented another pressing concern. The fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas lay in tatters. Renewed violence threatened to plunge the region back into chaos. Adding to the volatile mix was Iran's nuclear program. With talks scheduled for April 12, 2025, the world watched with bated breath. The stakes were high, with the potential for both diplomatic breakthroughs and military escalation. Trump, true to form, defended his tariffs as a necessary corrective to decades of unfair trade practices. He argued that the U.S. had been taken advantage of for too long. He remained steadfast in his commitment to protect American jobs and industries. However, he signaled a willingness to engage in bilateral negotiations with countries seeking exemptions. This more conciliatory tone did little to calm jittery markets. Investors remained wary of the potential for a full-blown trade war. The global reaction to Trump's tariffs was swift and multifaceted. Some countries, eager to avert economic fallout, rushed to the negotiating table. They offered concessions, including reduced tariffs on U.S. goods. Others, however, adopted a more defiant stance. China, the primary target of Trump's ire, threatened retaliatory tariffs. The escalating tensions threatened to upend global trade and destabilize the world economy. Even within the U.S., Trump's aggressive trade policies faced criticism. Prominent business leaders and lawmakers from both sides of the aisle voiced their concerns. They warned of the potential for economic harm and urged a more measured approach. The situation in Gaza presented a stark contrast to the economic maneuvering over tariffs. It was a humanitarian crisis intertwined with complex geopolitical calculations. The recent collapse of the ceasefire agreement had unleashed a new wave of violence. Rockets rained down on Israeli cities, while Israeli airstrikes targeted Hamas positions in Gaza. Civilians on both sides bore the brunt of the conflict. Trump, while expressing a desire for peace, seemed to endorse a more hardline approach favored by Netanyahu. He spoke of the need to secure the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. He also signaled support for Netanyahu's controversial plan to relocate Palestinians from Gaza. The plan, widely condemned as a violation of international law, aimed to ease tensions by creating a buffer zone between Israel and Gaza. However, critics argued that it would only exacerbate the suffering of the Palestinian people. Looming over the talks was the specter of Iran's nuclear program. The upcoming U.S.-Iran talks, scheduled for April 12, 2025, carried immense weight. The Trump administration, wary of Iran's nuclear ambitions, approached the talks with a mix of cautious optimism and thinly veiled threats. Trump himself hinted at the possibility of military action if negotiations failed to produce a favorable outcome. Netanyahu, a longtime hawk on Iran, used the meeting to reiterate his stance that military intervention remained the only viable option to neutralize the Iranian threat. He pointed to the 2011 intervention in Libya as a potential model for disarming Iran. His stance, however, revealed a growing rift between the U.S. and Israel on how to handle the Iranian nuclear issue. Trump, while not ruling out military action, seemed more inclined to exhaust diplomatic options before resorting to force. This divergence in approach underscored the complexities of the U.S.-Israel relationship in the age of Trump.